the glitz and glamour and prestige of a Grand Prix which has been around for so many years. A tight, twisty turn of circuit that could produce some brilliant racing in this fabulous season. Welcome to Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix here as we get ready to go through the glamour race and a return, and a very welcome return, to the racing calendar for Monaco. The yachts are moored in the harbour. The hotels are fully booked. The celebrities are standing ready for what can be 2 miles and 19 turns of, some may say, chaos, others may say, fabulous motor racing that we've got ahead of ourselves today. The Monaco Grand Prix has been a real staple of motor racing since 1929, and this is very much a case here of setting the scene for what could be an absolutely brilliant stage today. These 22 drivers that will take part today, it's a tight and twisty and difficult circuit. The challenge is going to get past the 7 times world champion Lewis Hamilton. There you see being interviewed there. That was Russ Vernon there, one of the officials. Nico Hülkenberg may be the championship leader, as we're watching Romain Grosjean being interviewed for Red Bull. But it's Lewis Hamilton and his teammate for Mercedes that have locked out the front row. And it's a track which is notoriously difficult to overtake in. So if you like Perez and starting at the back, this could be a long day. Pit stops could come into factor. Will this be the year Monaco comes to life from a form of overtaking? Well, let's quickly review the grid before we get going today. And Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas went ahead and locked out the front row. Lewis taking it by 0.05 of a second. Max Verstappen, the only other driver to break the 111s on the second row, followed by Daniel Ricciardo. Brilliant by Mick Schumacher to beat the hometown boy Charles Leclerc into 6th place. George Russell in 9th ahead of Nico Hülkenberg with a disappointing 10th. Both Lance Stroll and Antonio Giovinazzi have got 13th and 14th. And Lando Norris fantastically well to get an Alfa Romeo into 16th. As for the back of the grid, Nicholas Latifi in the Williams is brought that, and Guanyu Zhu is 21st in the Alfa Romeo. As we get ready for the Monaco Grand Prix. So, watch for the lights. Hamilton on the left, Bottas on the right. 5 lights are down. Go, go, go. We're underway. We're racing here in Monaco. The tyres squeal and the cars fly off the line. It looks a good start by Hamilton. Bottas is being challenged by Max Verstappen as they head into Zandvoort for the very first time. But Bottas has been able to get past him just by a fraction of a second. Hamilton still leads, and there's Verstappen again challenging Bottas. They make their way through Macedonia now into the right-hander. They're going to head down into Casino, and then they will make another turn before they make their way into the Grand Hairpin. Hamilton leads. He's the first through the hairpin. Slowest corner that these cars will take in this entire calendar. 30 miles an hour. So we're doing it. Look at that! Massive accident to the back. Massive accident to the hold up. Are we going to have the safety car? Let's have a quick look at the replay. Just what happened here, Trevor?
I think it's a case of no room being left by these two. I think it's Stroll and Sainz. Here we go. What happens here? And oh dear, they've squeezed each other and they've taken each other out. I don't know who's to blame there, really. That didn't look too bad from Sainz. Does Stroll leave him room is the question. I don't think it quite leaves a car's width there, and they've ended up collecting each other. And the look on Stroll, there's a look of resignation through that helmet. As we're seeing, and Vettel, the last race winner, he stopped. Vettel has stopped.
Sebastian Vettel has come up. We'll have to wait and see if that's his race over at the moment, but he's driven off the track, and we shall wait and see at the moment. And we're now watching through the Nouvelle chicane at the moment. This is coming in. This is Hülkenberg, who's right behind Charles Leclerc in 6th place. Through they go through the swimming pool. Always a famous corner that was introduced a few years ago. Now through the Raskas, and there is the man that has shot off into the lead. Lewis Hamilton through into 1st place, and Max Verstappen has got past Valtteri Bottas. I can see in the telemetry. Love to see if the race director's picked up the pass, but during all of that, Verstappen has got past Bottas, so Confirmation of the top 6 at the moment. Hamilton leads. Verstappen is second. Bottas third. Mick Schumacher in the Ravenwest is fourth. Daniel Ricciardo is fifth. So good for Schumacher, bad for Ricciardo. Charles Leclerc is sixth, and that'll be an important top 6. And Verstappen is now starting to pull away from Bottas and get after Lewis Hamilton. But on a circuit that's notoriously difficult to overtake in, just how do you get past Lewis Hamilton today?
You have to get a bit lucky, hope that your pit strategy does wonders, and Red Bull are quite good with their strategists, so I dare say they'll be scheming already. But Bottas had a terrible start, which I think is how Verstappen got past him. I think he snuck past him during that accident. Amazing work by the stewards, by the way. They got those two cars cleared up in, what, 30 seconds? Absolutely brilliant stuff there. I don't know what technology they used, but it's pretty good stuff.
Absolutely. Let's hope they didn't use that eraser button. Right, so we're back in with the action, and this is Mick Schumacher pulling away from Daniel Ricciardo. You can hear the V10s wearing. Lovely to hear again. Through Sandervoort, and then they will go up the hill through turns 2 and 3, the Beau Rivage and the Massenet, through turn to 3, which they're coming through right now. Then they'll brake heavily after a bit of acceleration down to the right, and that's the Casino turn. Heading on right the way down to the end will be turns all the way through into turn 5. Then it'll be turn 6, which is the Grand Hairpin right now, which is being entering. Then turn 7, which is neighbourly named Bass, which they come through again into turn 8, which is through Porter. Very much they will go through the tunnel, but the tunnel itself, which you always can great see when thanks to modern technology at the moment, does involve a turn, and then the Nouveau chicane that was introduced in 1997 to slow the cars down coming out of the chicane. That's turn 11. Then they will break into turn 12, which is through to back, and then they got Louis Chiron, which is turn 13. Then through the swimming pool, as we're watching Schumacher break through there. That's the final moment. Then a slow left-hander through to 15 before braking hard into the Rascasse. Then 2 more turns to negotiate, 17 and 18, which is through and away, and then all the way through the start-finish straight. That is a lap of Monaco. It goes through very quickly. Cars today, well, if they can break the 1:11 that they did in qualifying, the fastest race lap was set by Lewis Hamilton in a 1:12, and he's already putting out a gap at the moment, just about 2 seconds on Max Verstappen. So Lewis Hamilton doing really, really well to pick up the pace and to get away at the moment. But as for standing here, Nico Hülkenberg, who's leading the World Championship, 3 podiums at the moment, but so far no win to his name. And this is his teammate Mick Schumacher, who's got Daniel Ricciardo behind him. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo, we all remember his famous celebration in Monaco all those years ago. Mick Schumacher, wonderful win, but has struggled really in the Ravenwest since, but hopefully he can find a bit of form today, Trevor.
Yes, indeed. The Schumachers don't have a bad record here, do they? But Mick obviously missed out last year. He's had a bit of an inconsistent start to 2021, but that win in Melbourne was something special. And it's not like he hasn't been not scoring points since. He had a good result in the previous race, finishing top 10 in the previous 2 races. So he's still picking up points, and he's 4th in the championship, so it's not all bad things, and he's doing reasonably well at Monaco. Certainly making an overtake on Ricciardo early on is excellent work. But just looking at the timing sheet, Sebastian Vettel is listed as out, so he must have had an engine failure of some sort on that first lap. So we've lost 3 cars in 1 lap, and we hit lap 5.
Sebastian Vettel, Lance Stroll and Carlos Sainz are all out of the Monaco Grand Prix. So as things stand at the moment, this is great for Lewis Hamilton, who had a really disastrous race in Zandvoort. The moment he has a lead, and that'll be a really important one to get himself back in the championship standings. He stands 3rd. He's 2 points behind Sebastian Vettel, who will score no points today. So there may be the opportunity to go ahead and make up some ground on Nico Hülkenberg. We'll know that every place he can get today will be hugely important. But as we're watching Mick Schumacher, and he's got Daniel Ricciardo behind, and the hometown boy, Charles Leclerc. Very much this is Ferrari country now with Charles Leclerc, but never seems to do very well at Monaco.
Well, we hope to break that curse today in a top 6 finish. Not to be sniffed at Monaco, given how its reputation precedes it for how difficult it is to overtake, although some drivers have already made some moves which kind of debunking the myth a little bit today.
Yeah, it's great to see that there is wheel-to-wheel motor racing taking place. The opportunities to pass are limited, but the way in which some of the aerodynamic changes that were forced on this season, which is definitely accounted to some brilliant racing. This is going to be fascinating when we look at the strategy. It's one of the longest laps that we'll see, 39 laps that the cars are going to do today, but laps themselves, that's 1 minute 11, 1 minute 12, 1 minute 13 they're going to do there or thereabouts. They're over so quickly, and it's such a spectacle here in Monaco to have the Grand Prix, and we're now on board with the Red Bulls, so you can see it flying through of Max Verstappen as he looks to try and chase down Lewis Hamilton. Look at that shot, absolutely beautiful surroundings that you're seeing. The absolute pinnacle of motor racing taking place pretty much as through the swimming pool complex goes Verstappen, and this is Valtteri Bottas keeping chase, and Lewis has got himself into a good position. You can command a race from here, but there has been so many instances of drivers which have dominated Monaco, and it just hasn't worked out for them. Needless to say, remember the slow puncher in 1992 with Mansell having to come in and Senna brilliantly holding him off, and that looks like there was an accident. Looks like it's what does that look like? That looks like Hulkenberg, who has gone straight into the barrier at turn 17 and has survived, but it just depends how damaged is that Ravenwest.
Well, it looked like he had a brake lock up, and it's caused problems for the Red Bull behind in Romain Grosjean as the McLaren is trying to pounce of George Russell side by side in Monaco. Look at this, we're getting some racing, ladies and gentlemen, and it's wheel-to-wheel stuff. Will they leave enough room for each other? Let's not do a Sainz and Stroll again, shall we? Oh, it's happened again! The other McLaren has done the same.
George Russell is out of the Monaco Grand Prix. What rotten luck for the Englishman. And the yellow flags are out. I wonder if the race will have to be stopped. That's a really dangerous point. And look at this. Well, this is a replay, isn't it? Yes, it's a replay. And, well, you can see from there, he just wasn't given enough room, was he, Trevor?
He wasn't, and unfortunately he's hit the barrier, and that's race over for George Russell. Both McLarens then. Oh, dearie me, that's not going to be a good team conference at the end of this. Both drivers not finishing the race, both being in an accident on the same corner as well. Incredible. There doesn't appear to be a safety car. I'm seeing green lights flashing, so I think they've cleared it really quick. They must have a really good crane around there.
Yeah, one might suggest the crane could well be Thunderbird 2, as into the pits at the moment comes the Ravenwest of Nico Hulkenberg. So this is an early strategy. What change do you think he's looking for here, Trevor?
He's putting on a new front wing. Look, he must have picked up damage with that collision with the barrier. So a forced pit stop by the looks of things.
But he's also gone onto hard tyres, so I assume he's preparing to go deep into the race.
He's going to one-stop it, I reckon. You don't put the hard tyres on this early on at Monaco. It's going to be very tight coming out of the pits, though, with that AlphaTauri and the Jaguar-powered Williams. He's just about nipped ahead of them.
Well, this will be a real challenge because the Ravenwest aerodynamically and it's from its Bugatti engine is far superior to the AlphaTauri and the Jaguar Williams, but those hard tyres are going to hinder him, and he's going to have to work really hard at the moment, I suspect, to keep them behind. But it's a case of whether the AlphaTauri there does have the ability of Daniel Kvyat to be able to really challenge it. You can already see just how well set up the Ravenwest car is. So that has moved Mick Schumacher. He is up into 4th place. That's Daniel Ricciardo behind in 5th. And Charles Leclerc is 6th. Lewis Hamilton is still in the lead. We're about to start lap 9 of 39. And Lewis Hamilton's lead, well, it's getting it over in parts to over 2 seconds. There we go then, 2.8 seconds, nearly 3 seconds. Lewis Hamilton at the moment is absolutely flying out there. And this was always a circuit that the great Ayrton Senna really dominated over the years, and since he has, Lewis has very much been his idol. And some would argue Lewis Hamilton in his later years has been less Senna and more Prost, very much a professor as opposed to the absolute wheel-to-wheel racer that would go to it all the time. And very much has been the change in Lewis Hamilton in time, but it very much has been what has been the making of him. For Mick Schumacher, his dad was very, very successful here today, though. He's got 4th place, and Daniel Ricciardo, former race winner at Monaco, right behind him as they go for the Nouvelle Chicane. And Charles Leclerc, who has had an awful start to the season with retirements and disasters, will be so pleased at the moment that here he stands in a race and looking to get points. And sometimes at Monaco it's about staying in there, it's just about being involved in the race, it's keeping yourself out of the barriers and driving correctly, because there could be an opportunity for you to sneak through a win. If you're asking what I mean by that, look up Olivier Panis in 1996. And maybe Charles Leclerc might have to rely on something like this, but so far it's brilliant weather, and Daniel Ricciardo just having a sniff as they go up the hill towards Casino. And that's for Mick Schumacher to do a little bit of defending and to get through. And Daniel Ricciardo definitely been able to benefit at the moment from some of the slipstream that these cars are developing.
Yes, that Bugatti can't quite get all the horsepower down on a circuit like Monaco, as there isn't really the opportunity to put the hammer down. But Renault have certainly got their own very good package, and they've been able to keep up with the Bugatti quite well so far. And Bugatti, however, do have quite a good record at Monaco. They did win 4 of the first 5 races at Monaco way back in the late 20s and early 30s. William Grover Williams winning for Bugatti in the very first one in 1929. So it was great for Bugatti to be back on the Monaco grid, it's got to be said. Alfa Romeo won the one in between as well.
Yeah, I remember it well. Well, it does say, if you see on our timing telemetry, that George Russell's in the pit. He's not. He's out of the Grand Prix. We know we're having some issues and technical issues with the telemetry here, as we're relying on the Monegasans to put this together. But here is the moment, is the man which is looking to get themselves back in the championship. From a standpoint of Max Verstappen, who stands 5th, and from Lewis Hamilton standing 3rd, this will go a long way to getting them back in the championship. Of course, Lewis Hamilton looking to make it an 8th World Championship after sneaking through in the last race of the season. Memories of his first World Championship to make number 7 last year. But it's all changed this year, and Nico Hülkenberg at the moment, well, he's done fabulously well to get himself into the lead, but he's still yet to win a race, and at the moment he's sitting down in 12th place. The question is this strategy going to work out? As everyone pits in, is he going to sneak through? We're going to keep our eye on Hülkenberg, but right now we're following Mick Schumacher as he's doing his best to defend off Daniel Ricciardo.
Well, this is Matsushita, the rookie, in 9th place in the Haas, fending off Esteban Ocon. So Matsushita's had a barnstorming race so far. He was near the back of the grid and somehow finds himself in 9th place. It's a great result for Haas if they can keep hold of it.
It will be at the moment for Matsushita 2 World Championship points, and points mean prizes in Formula 1, and that'll mean a great deal for that team, for the funding available, as now, as my producer tells me in my ear, this is Mick Schumacher that we are watching. That is Daniel Ricciardo behind him. You can see Charles Leclerc. He's about a second and a half or 2 sort of off Ricciardo and Schumacher, but Ricciardo here knows if he wants to go ahead and chase down Valtteri Bottas, he's got to try and find a way past Mick Schumacher, but that is easier said than done here at Monaco as they go and break.
Trevor, it's 2 grey cars being chased by 2 yellow cars. It's an easy mistake to make.
If you can remember Bugatti winning here for the first time, you'd be forgiven for this.
Indeed.
Right through the tunnel, and then the cars, they will go and brake. That's the top speed. They'll hit around about 170, 180 mile an hour. They'll break into the Nouveau chicane that was brought in after a quite horrific accident that took place the year before in the famous Olivier Panis win. Indeed, that was the last time a Frenchman won the Monaco Grand Prix. Hasn't been that way since, and Lewis Hamilton coming into the pits.
Well, let's see what compounds are going for. Mediums. Might be a 2-stop on our hands, or they might drag it out as a 1. We shall see. Verstappen in as well. He's doing the same, no doubt. There we go. Renault engineers coming out.
Both men reacting to the changes, and Lewis Hamilton, who had built up that lead, has lost it away. But it does mean that his teammate Valtteri Bottas now is in the lead, and he's got about sort of 9 seconds or so on Charles Leclerc. So Bottas is not going to come out. Lewis Hamilton is out in 5th, and Verstappen is down in 6th. As a result of that change, and I think there's some more pits which have taken place in that, and Matsushita is up to 7th place at the moment, and I think Mick Schumacher's just come in to the pits also, hence why he's down in 9th at the moment, unless he's spun off.
No, I think he pitted as well, but the thing is he's on those yellow medium compound tyres all over the back of Esteban Ocon, who has been stuck behind Matsushita this whole time, and Ricciardo is stuck right behind him. So it is, well, two very young drivers up against two very experienced drivers in the Renaults. And, well, Monaco just showing how difficult it is to find an overtaking possibility. But Matsushita is having a stellar race.
Fabulous effort from Matsushita as well, as Mick Schumacher tries to find his way out of this Renault sandwich that he is in. Of course, Renault very much a hometown team that will be rooted for all of today, and very much running the yellow livery. Short of that, to that of the great Renault side, which powering through in the early 1980s, driven by Alain Prost and René Arnoux and company as well. Great racing that took place there. So another pit stop has taken place, and as a result of it, as we go to lap 14, Pierre Gasly remains in the lead. Lewis Hamilton, having stopped his second. Max Verstappen is third. So Bottas has come in and pitted and left. And now let's bring Matsushita up into 5th place, who I don't think has stopped yet. We'll have to wait and see what the tyres are saying. But there we go. There is Mick Schumacher, which is down in 6th. Daniel Ricciardo is 7th. And Ocon is down in 12th. So I guess Ocon has come in and pitted and has not been able to sort of gain any places after what took place.
Well, Matsushita, he started on the medium tyres, hasn't he? So he hasn't had to stop yet. So he gets kind of a choice whether to... I mean, he'll have to change tyre compound at some point. So is he going to do 2 soft periods after this? Intriguing strategy from Haas here. And the start that he's had has left a number of options open for him.
Well, here is Nico Hülkenberg in 9th place, and he's got a rather determined Romain Grosjean sitting right behind him as for the moment for Hülkenberg, who's leading the World Championship. Just 2 championship points he's on for at the moment, but he's on those hard tyres and he's going for the long haul today.
Well, so far, it's got him back in the points, but he was up at 7th at one point, so he'll be hoping for some more pit stops to help him out. Matsushita obviously will be one he'll be keeping an eye on. But everyone else, Gasly as well, was pitted. Oh, that's a bit of a snap of oversteer as he comes out of that last corner. It's Gasly and Matsushita will be the people that he'll be looking to overtake in the pits at present to get himself back up to 7th. Whether he can make any more gains from that point, we shall see.
Well, you just saw the bit of... we'll just keep with this 2 seconds to watch Romain Grosjean, just to see if he does decide to make a move on the Hülkenberg as they go, make their way into Casino. Good defending there, making the car nice and wide by Hülkenberg and braking, and they make their way down towards the hairpin. But we just saw the lock up and the sort of oversteer. Just how difficult, Trevor, are these cars to control when they do sort of, when the back does sort of step out on you?
Well, it is very difficult. These V10 hybrid engines have got so much torque as Romain Grosjean thinks about a move, but the door is slammed shut in his face by Hülkenberg. We'll see if they... Yeah, he stays ahead. But these V10 hybrids have so much torque, it is very easy to spin up the rear wheels and very easy to spin. So, and hard compound tyres having less grip but more longevity, that's going to amplify that effect a little bit more. Plus, you've got to look after the tyres, so you can't just stamp on the throttle to make them last. So, it's a hard tyre strategy is very difficult to execute, but in a race like this, it could probably work, but you never know.
Well, we were watching Hülkenberg being chased by Grosjean, and if you look at from Max Verstappen's situation, he very much will want to go ahead to his teammate to get past, because that allows him to make as much gains as possible. Race leader at the moment is Pierre Gasly, and what a result it would be if Pierre Gasly was to hang on the Frenchman. Sitting behind him is Lewis Hamilton. He's starting to bring up a little train. Verstappen and Bottas are also involved, all on the medium compounds, but Pierre Gasly's doing fabulous well at the moment in 1st place.
Yeah, I think he's in the same boat as Matsushita, started on the medium compound tyres, so he doesn't have to pit yet. So he's playing... Oh, but Verstappen, his engine's on fire!
Verstappen is pulling off and out, and what a shame for Max Verstappen. He is out of the Monaco Grand Prix. That looks like that engine is completely blown up, the Mugen Honda, and oh, what shame for Verstappen. More rotten luck. He put on a brilliant performance in Zandvoort to claim 2nd, but my heavens, the engine looks to have just completely blown up. And Well, that's going to work out for Hulkenberg, because that's put him up to 8th, who's the championship leader. But at the same time now, Pierre Gasly has 2 Mercedes sitting behind him. As for Mick Schumacher, well, he's got Daniel Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc chasing, and he's just got to find a way, I think, past Matsushita. Otherwise, this could really be ruining Mick Schumacher's pit strategy, or entire race strategy.
Well, one team that won't be caring about that is Haas. They're in 4th place at Monaco. Matsushita, in his first appearance at the track, is having an absolute blinder. Incredible. It's bad luck with Verstappen, but it's fallen so nicely for Haas and Matsushita. This could be a really great moment for the team if they can get some points here today. If they can hold on to 4th, it will be probably, I think, it'll be their best results at Monaco ever.
It could well indeed, and we are now waiting to see. So, confirmation of the retirees: Max Verstappen, George Russell, Sebastian Vettel, Lance Stroll and Carlos Sainz are all out. So at the moment we only have 17 of 22 runners in the Grand Prix. We're currently watching the battle taking place, and Schumacher's trying to make a move past Matsushita and squeezes his way through as they make their way down. The yellow flags are out right through the swimming pool complex. Then they're going to go right their way through. There they are. It's right race side by side again. Brilliant racing by Schumacher. Has he got enough to get through the rust? Because it's desperately tight, but he's through turn 17 and 18 and away. Wonderful bit of overtaking there by Mick Schumacher. Now Daniel Ricciardo, he's also trying to go and make a move past Matsushita through Sandoval side by side, and just enough to squeeze his way through. Daniel Ricciardo up the hill also gets past Matsushita now, who I suspect his tyres have gone. And then he's also got Charles Leclerc sitting behind him. Charles Leclerc sitting by Matsushita in the Haas that was on for 4th place, now down in 6th. So fantastic stuff. Mick Schumacher though has pulled off a brilliant bit of overtaking to get himself past. Very brave driving. There's barely enough room to get 2 cars lengths width across through that little section, but he did so well and had such a good drive, and it was fabulous driving by Schumacher there.
It was fantastic. Great commitment from all the drivers as well. Matsushita, even though he was being overtaken, did excellently well, not only to fight for it, but to leave enough room for there to be clean racing taking place in Monaco. As we saw earlier, it's quite easy for both cars to touch each other and hit the barriers, but they kept it nice and clean, and probably one of the best overtakes you're going to see all year.
Oh, it was fantastic. And Charles Leclerc, we can definitely see, is also past Matsushita. So allowing these 3 to go on and give chase, but it'll still be the Mercedes that they're going to have to chase down. And we should wait to see if Pierre Gasly has been able to keep off Hamilton and Bottas. He was on the same strategy, so will his medium tyres start to fall off? We should have to wait and see. Lewis Hamilton not getting it there, so Schumacher has 13 seconds of clear track ahead to try and bring out a lead, but at the same time he's got to defend Daniel Ricciardo and Renault in the 5th. So there's one thing to chase someone down, but the difficulty you've got is when you're defending a lead is one mistake and that's it, you'll lose it. The person chasing you, they can make a mistake, 2 or 3 laps later they can go and pick back up completely where they left. So your race leader, that's Pierre Gasly. Lewis Hamilton is 2nd, Valtteri Bottas is 3rd, and this is turning into a fascinating Monaco Grand Prix.
Well, Gasly's still yet to pit, and he's holding those Mercedes up. Don't know how much more life those tyres have probably got. He's still going on as Pierre Gasly. He's really wringing the life out of those tyres and making them last, but he's managing to stay in the lead.
Well, we saw the brilliant bit of overtaking taken by Mick Schumacher to get his way past Matsushita. Does Lewis Hamilton think about risking it, or does he just bide his time? He's got Valtteri Bottas behind, and these two very much are still racing each other. They're not parading around in a 1-2. There's no team orders today. I spoke to Toto Wolff. There'll be none of that. But does Lewis Hamilton risk it, or does he just wait? I probably suspect Lewis Hamilton a few years ago might have risked it. Matsushita is in the pits along with Daniel Kvyat, I can see. So Matsushita down into has come back out in 10th. But what did you do if you were Lewis Hamilton? Would you wait, or would you try and go past?
I think unless there's a blatantly obvious opportunity, I think he's just got to wait, because Gasly will pit at some point. He's got to pit. It's in the rules. But I'm sure Hamilton will be desperately wanting to get past, but he's a little older and a little wiser. He knows that eventually that AlphaTauri will get out of the way, and unless he makes a mistake, he's just going to have to bide his time.
Well, battle to let you know about. Matsushita's in 10th place, but Nicholas Latifi in the Williams Jaguar has got himself up to 11th. He's only a second or so behind, so the battle for the final point in the Grand Prix should be interesting. This is Pierre Gasly finally coming into the pits. I've just seen Ricciardo go past, Leclerc has gone past. Is it enough for Hulkenberg to get past? We shall wait and watch and see. Schumacher is through, and that is confirmed. Grosjean has also come in, so Gasly has done really well. He's come back out in 6th place ahead of Hulkenberg. Pierre Gasly's strategy paying off because he jumped all the way up the grid into 6th place. The big thing that does open up now is now Lewis Hamilton has clear track in front of him and his teammate behind him. And now this is 3rd place. This is Mick Schumacher and Daniel Ricciardo following him. So Mick Schumacher, race winner in the opening race of the season in Melbourne. Brilliant performance he did there. Now it's also moved Charles Leclerc into 5th. So Charles Leclerc is well on that Ferrari. He's not quite working great, and he's got to have some concern if his teammate's engine's blown up very early into the opening lap of the Grand Prix. We'll have to wait and see. And I think Hulkenberg has got past Esteban Ocon. Hulkenberg is now starting to gain, so he might just be starting to find the rhythm in those hard tyres at the moment.
Well, this is it. You start entering the performance window of those hard tyres once you sort of get midway through their stint. So those hard tyres, I mean, for Gasly, those hard tyres that he's just put on, they're going to come good towards the back end of the race. So keep an eye on the gap between himself and Leclerc. But obviously Gasly and Hulkenberg, the two drivers on hard compound tyres, are next to one another. So it could get pretty spicy late on in the race if they both hit the performance window at the same time.
So Trevor, what do you think in terms of pit strategy? Who do you think will look to come in for a second pit stop here today?
Well, to be honest, I reckon the Mercedes are probably going to try and bring it out until the end of the race without stopping again, because they're so far ahead. They've got a good 15 seconds between themselves and Schumacher. Everyone else, it's going to be a case of who blinks first. I think everyone's going to be waiting to see if anyone actually pits, but at this stage I feel like everyone's gone for the one stop. The only concern I think would be Hulkenberg. Obviously he pitted so early on lap 8, here he is. How well those hard tyres are going to feel come lap 38, 39, because he will have been on those tyres for 20 laps, which as you can see, it's still providing a problem with Esteban Ocon all over the back of him.
Well, there'll be a challenge for Nico Hulkenberg today. Championship leader. Of course, it's only ever happened once that somebody has won the World Championships and only one race all season. You go back to 1980 and Alan Jones that season. And we're hoping to see, we're hoping to see here today, is it going to be Hulkenberg's day? It might not be, because at the moment he's got Ocon just looking to knock on the door, and Hulkenberg has survived. In terms of the Ravenwest, I mean Schumacher is having an outstanding drive today. In terms of the Ravenwest, there definitely isn't the track to suit their car.
No, it's very much all about power, that Bugatti Ravenwest, and they have been working on the chassis and aerodynamics. Obviously the chassis last year was its big plus point, as Ocon still can't find a way through. The positioning from Hulkenberg is pinpoint precision and perfect, but they had a very good chassis last year, but again the aero let them down, so they are still playing catch up. Of course they did get themselves a new wind tunnel at the start of the season, so race 4 might start seeing some headway coming. Obviously next race is Canada, which will be the big teller as to whether you've got a good aero package along with power. So Monaco isn't the circuit where it's going to show, as again Ocon just trying to find a gap, but Hulkenberg is just closing the door every time. This is like Senna following Senna and Mansell all over again.
Very much, as you can see there, some of the tactics ployed there from Hulkenberg as he goes slightly slower for apexes, brakes a little harder, forces there the Ocon to have to sort of lose a couple of seconds, putting on the power away. It's all clever racing which has taken place, but it is proper racing that we're seeing here today, and one wonders, Nico Hulkenberg never been on a podium before. He's got 3, he's the only man to score a podium in every race. Is this strategy set up for him to try and sneak it? We shall wait. We're on lap 24 at 39 at the Monaco Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton is leading. That was us on board with Valtteri Bottas who was chasing his partner down. But Lewis Hamilton just starting to edge out a bit of a gap on Bottas.
Yeah, he is. I think the clear track ahead of him is certainly going to help him. Although I imagine they will eventually hit traffic at some point, which will probably bring Bottas back into play. The other thing to consider, obviously, team orders. Will Toto Wolff want these two to race one another in Monaco? Because, let's be honest, if you've got a 1-2, more or less a given, you probably just want to preserve that. So I dare say Toto may have a word if things start getting spicy. Hopefully not. We might get a bit of racing, but we'll see. It's a difficult position to think of when for the poor team principals. You have to, imagine good old Eddie Jordan back at Spa. That sweating scenario as we're seeing Mick Schumacher here, all over the back of the Haas. Looks like it's a back marker, isn't it? He's just getting past the back marker. But yeah, very much the shades of Eddie Jordan at Spa, where he's like, I've got a 1-2 here. Do I let them race or not? It's a difficult position for a team principal to be in.
Well, we should wait and see what Toto Wolff does and what his team orders are. But at the moment, the Mercedes are still keeping their distance to the Ravenwest and Mick Schumacher. And I suspect this is down to the fact that he's trying at the moment to fend off Daniel Ricciardo. It's having a real effect on his ability to chase. As cars are starting to have Alex Albon, who's down in 17th and is being lapped, and the blue flags are out. And traffic is definitely going to be a factor. If you are backmarking and the strict rules of Formula 1, there could be a situation here where they could hold up the entire race and it could be ruined by a backmarker. We have seen that happen in the past. Mick Schumacher, well, his dad was a famous race winner here, and he'll be hoping to emulate something along those lines. And now we're watching Ocon try to squeeze his way past Hulkenberg. Brilliant bit of defending there by Hulkenberg to stop him. There they go, breaking their way through. Up they come into the Rascasse. Good defending again. There he goes. You see the brakes capillars glowing bright red as he slams the brakes on right the way through the Rascasse, just to buy himself a bit of time so he can pick up the power all the way through up to Zandvoort and then climb up the hill to Casino. And from this position here, this is where the tyres are starting to show the terms for Esteban Ocon. So we've seen one Renault chase a Red Bull. What about another? Mick Schumacher here has got Daniel Ricciardo behind him and has had, and he can't seem to shake him off, Trevor, but what he is able to do though is to make sure there isn't a distance and he isn't giving him a gap or a hint or a chance to get through.
No, it's Ravenwest versus Renault scenario going on here. It's fascinating because they've both made really good progress this season. Obviously Ricciardo having some really good races as well this year, but it's fascinating to see that both cars from both teams are fighting one another for a similar track position. It's fascinating to see who's going to come out on top. Will the Ravenwest be able to hold their positions? Will they be able to make any gains? Will the Renaults be able to somehow find a way past? It's a really exciting prospect for this second half of the race.
Well, in terms of times at the moment there, Charles Leclerc's got nearly an 18-second gap at the moment on Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri in 6th place. So Leclerc will be very pleased with that. He's starting to pull away, and now this is starting to look like a top 5 that are starting to break away. And this is the battle for 3rd place that you are watching. Mick Schumacher in 3rd place, 4th place Daniel Ricciardo. Charles Leclerc just starting to make a few gains, but not gaining all the way. And through the Nuba chicane, this is Mick Schumacher we're watching go through in the Bugatti Ravenwest, and we're hoping here to see. So we're coming up to finish lap 27, start lap 28, and then we're heading towards 11 laps left of a Monaco Grand Prix. 17 cars are still running. If you missed it, Max Verstappen is out with engine failure. George Russell had an identical accident to his teammate Carlos Sainz. Lance Stroll also out in an opening lap crash, and Sebastian Vettel's engine has blown. Lewis Hamilton, the fastest lap, and he leads the race. He's on for 26 points, bit of a maximum. If you are a Lewis Hamilton fan, you might want to touch wood. You might want to be careful here because Esteban Ocon is looking to try and make a move at the moment on Hulkenberg. It's medium tyres, hard tyres, it's Renault, it's Ravenwest, it's Monaco, and it's Hulkenberg using all that experience available in order to keep that position there.
It came very close, didn't it? But as Ocon sort of stuck a foot in the door, but Hulkenberg again slamming it shut in his face. This is a fascinating battle between these two.
Well, Nico Hulkenberg knows that his championship challenge probably won't be stopped today, and every driver knows that they do have a circuit which is their a bit of their Achilles heel. Let's hope today that he's done very well on that early pit stop. Wonder if those hard tyres will start falling off. How much harder would it be for him to continue to gain positions? So Lando Norris, who did brilliantly well to qualify 16th in the Alfa Romeo, has got up to 10th and in the points at the moment, past Romain Grosjean for Alfa Romeo. So Lando Norris having a storming race, Brit down there in 10th place for the final position, and he's all over the back of Matsushita in the Haas. So there could be a potential 1 or 2 points available. As for the big battle taking place, Mick Schumacher's got Daniel Ricciardo behind him, and Charles Leclerc, I can see, he's just fallen off the pace a little bit, so there was an option for chasing that hasn't happened right now. Then there's Schumacher, 30 mile an hour as those cars will do. What you go through your usual high street with, they'll be banking around that corner in the slowest corner in the Grand Prix calendar, and then they will go and break through to the maximum speeds these cars will be capable of doing. We're looking at the speedo here. Just 182 mile an hour Mick Schumacher doing before he brakes heavily into the left-hander of the Neuville chicane, and then they would go and brake towards channel 12, which is Tabac, and then they will head towards what was known as the swimming pool complex. 30 is Louis Charon, and then 14 is the Piscine, otherwise known as the swimming pool to you and I. Sweeping around 15 before braking heavily for the Raskas, which is 16. Then it's turn 17 and 18, and then back up through to the start-finish straight. And Mick Schumacher again has been able to hold off Daniel Ricciardo. So blue flags are out at the moment, and that is Antonio Giovinazzi, and he is really is frustrating at the moment, and I think there's a radio coming through.
Michael, blue flags. Michael, this guy makes us lose the position.
Well, Giovinazzi didn't see the blue flags, and well, that's got to be frustrating for Lewis Hamilton. The question is, can Bottas also get past? Can Lewis use this opportunity to pick away? Does this allow the opportunity in terms of backmarking to bring Schumacher and Ricciardo into it? I can see it looks to be the Jaguar Williams. It's both of them, of Sergio Perez and Nicholas Latifi, that Schumacher's got to get past. Hopefully they won't give them too many problems, but backmarkers now going to start to play a real part in the last sort of 9 laps of this Grand Prix.
They are indeed. Toto Wolff on the blower to the FIA. You get those blue flags out because Giovinazzi clearly can't see them. Wasn't too happy with Bottas being held up. Clearly worried about Schumacher in third. Bottas may be getting frustrated that he essentially has lost the opportunity to race Hamilton there.
Well, it's been a bit of a plus moment there for Lewis Hamilton, who's been able to gain over 3 seconds on Valtteri Bottas as a result. Schumacher is 9 seconds behind Bottas, but he's got cars to pass. He's got slower cars to pass. Can they pass through? Will Daniel Ricciardo use that moment to get past him? There he goes up into Casino. That is past Latifi. Daniel Ricciardo is also involved. Can Ricciardo get through as he's stuck behind as they go and break round the corner? And just squeezing in there was Ricciardo, who's got to be furious because that has allowed Schumacher to get through. And Ricciardo again has been held up. That is going to really annoy Daniel Ricciardo. Right there through the tunnel, blue flags are out, still unable to move. Will this be a case of them moving over through the tunnel? And Daniel Ricciardo at the moment has got to be furious because that is enough of a gap for Schumacher to pull away.
Yeah, and more importantly, it's let Leclerc back in. Oh, has it? A bit of a tuck there from the back marker. Leclerc won't be happy either. I was going to say, let's open the door for Leclerc to come back at Ricciardo. He certainly closed the gap a bit, but those Jaguar Williams, they weren't doing the best of jobs, although Perez, to be fair to him, got out of the way on the start-finish straight, but Latifi was making a bit of a mess of letting the leaders through.
Yeah, Latifi there, that was not a great driving available, very nearly taking out the hometown boy. Sure, if he did that, he'd be rushing a helicopter and head out of here as soon as possible, because his hometown crowd will not be happy with that. So we are on board at the moment with Lando Norris, and that's Matsushita ahead of him. So Lando Norris here in 10th place, Matsushita in 9th. Brilliant drive there from Norris to get this Alfa Romeo to qualify 16th, and now he's got a championship point and is looking at 12 in what has been a brilliant drive so far.
Yeah, both the young drivers here. Lando Norris obviously is a bit more experienced than Matsushita, but they're dragging inferior machinery into point scoring positions. It really shows the driver quality here, but these two have been very good at Monaco so far and are fighting for 2 points there for 9th position. Whether they can make an overtake happen between them without having an accident, we shall see, but there's only 7 laps left to go. This race has absolutely flown by.
So this is the two Jaguar Williams, the new livery that they're sponsoring, and new engine titles. The return of that, it should be fabulous to see. And this is Nicholas Latifi who leads at the moment. Sergio Perez, and this is them battling between 15th and 16th. That's a lovely aerial shot there of the Raskas for the final 2 turns up to the start-finish straight and powering away. And you can hear the V10, which last time there was a V10 on board of Williams, well, here at Monaco, did produce some brilliant performances. Right, this is Norris again. He is right behind Matsushita. That's them through the Nouvelle Chicane. And that's Romain Grosjean behind them in 11th. So will this open the door for Grosjean? We shall have to wait and see. We're halfway through lap 32 of 39 here at Monaco. What has been a brilliant race. Lewis Hamilton leads. Valtteri Bottas is second. And Mick Schumacher is third. You're watching the battle at the moment for 9th place. A brilliant drive in the Alfa Romeo of Lando Norris to qualify 16th, and here he stands chasing down Matsushita, who's done fabulously well. Really inexperienced driver. Was up to 4th at one point before pitting in. We shall wait and see. They're going to head round now into Casino. Is there an opportunity to pass? Bit of defensive work. Has to be very aware here in the Haas Matsushita. Then he will drive up as well before turning into turn 7. Tight right-hander known as Bass. It kinks slightly left. Brake heavily. 30 mile an hour. Deadly slow. Round they through the Grand Hotel hairpin. Up to turn 7, which is Bass. There they go again. And then they will fly through turn 8. Up into the tunnel, which also has a hidden turn. It's not completely flat out. Let's look at the speed. What's going to be pulled down here? 182 is around about the quickest. 176 mile an hour. So you see there, that's about 6 or 7 mile an hour difference between a Haas and a Ravenwest, and 6 or 7 mile an hour in Formula 1. Well, that's about a couple of days. Really, it's just squealing out of the way as Nico Hülkenberg doing really well. He's really struggling with the back end of that car with that oversteer.
Well, there's a lot of power being laid down in such short increments. He's doing really well to keep that Ravenwest in a competitive position back there, although of course Mick Schumacher's doing an even better job up in 3rd place, but he's certainly been up against it this race. He's done really well considering he's been on these tyres since lap 8, so Hülkenberg doing a stellar job there, even if it is a little bit twitchy.
So development at the front of the grid. Mick Schumacher is now under 5 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas. So the traffic has not worked out in the world favour of Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton just a second ahead of his teammate. Mick Schumacher potentially on for challenging, if it is possible or plausible, could be going for a 2nd place, but as things stand is in 3rd place. This is Hülkenberg in 7th, and now we're looking at one of the, well, it's a blue flag which has come out. This is Charles Leclerc, who has got past Antonio Giovinazzi, who's not had his best race at the moment, but this Charles Leclerc has got past him and continues to move forwards. And Leclerc, always so much pressure being the hometown boy, but it doesn't really seem to suit his driving style, Monaco. When you look at the young Mononesian, the way he drives, he's got a lovely flair and a lovely ability for circuits like sort of Zandvoort, but for whatever reason, himself and the Ferrari, albeit winning last year today, just haven't been able to put it together.
Well, it's a little bit like Jenson Button and Silverstone, isn't it? Just never quite comes together on his home Grand Prix so far, but he's got plenty of time on his side to change that over the next few seasons.
And we shall hope you should join us again, as we no doubt the Ravenwest will continue for many years to come. Mick Schumacher, we are watching. That is Daniel Ricciardo behind him in 4th place. They will come through to stop lap 35 of 39. And now does Mick Schumacher think his eyes heading down and chasing Bottas? Or does he think hanging on for that 3rd place?
I think hanging on to 3rd place is probably going to be top of his priorities now. I think the Mercedes are probably just that little bit too far ahead. If he pushes a bit more, he'll kill the tyres, and with that late stage into the race. If he was to make another pit stop because he'd killed the tyres, caused a flat spot by locking up, it would basically throw him all the way outside the points. So I think he's just got to consolidate here. And Ricciardo, bless him, has been all over the gearbox the entire race, and he's doing a really good job of maintaining his tyres whilst attacking Mick Schumacher this entire time. So who knows who's going to finish third with 4 laps to go.
Well, Daniel Ricciardo will be absolutely delighted if he can get past Schumacher. It may feel like a race win, bearing in mind he knows what winning at Monaco feels like, but will there be an opportunity for him today to sort of get through? This is Nico Hülkenberg in the Ravenwest, and that's the AlphaTauri Pierre Gasly. So does Hülkenberg have in mind to get past? And in terms of championship points, it's all about accumulating as much as you can. Gasly as well really drops off, so I can't see Hülkenberg getting any higher than 6th, but if he can get past
25
Gasly...
seconds off Leclerc, so Gasly's tyres have really dropped off, and Hülkenberg, despite being on old tyres, is gaining. He's pulled out a 6-second gap on 8-second gap on Ocon, so something's happened with Ocon, and Hülkenberg's just shot away.
Yeah, on that situation here from Pierre Gasly, Hülkenberg knows that there could be a case of challenging for 6th place. For Mick Schumacher, this is where it's going to get tense, because sometimes in Monaco you can win by hundredths of a second, sometimes even thousandths of a second, but passing is very difficult to do. And with Daniel Ricciardo, you can't go gung-ho in the final corner, because suddenly you can knock yourself out. These high barriers in this high twisting circuit, what he's got to try and do is find a moment for him to make an opportune pass. So where are, in your mind, Trevor, where are the best points of passing here at Monaco?
Well, I'd probably say at the end of this section here, if you're brave and late on the brakes, you can overtake going into the chicane. And also, obviously, the main point is the start-finish straights. Of course, Mick's dad did a cheeky overtake under the safety guard conditions back in 2010 on Fernando Alonso, which he got reprimanded for, of course. You're not allowed to do that, but still, it shows that opportunity is mainly down this straight, as the two Mercedes have got close to one another, and they're coming up to the back of that Alfa Romeo of Zhao and Kvyat. So will they be able to get out of the way? This could be Bottas' best chance if traffic holds them up.
So the entire race essentially now hangs in the balance for Lewis Hamilton. These 2 back markers could well be a factor in what would deny Lewis Hamilton a win at Monaco. He has been absolutely magnificent today, imperious in his ability to drive, but I'm sure right now the nerves might start to be jangling. He's got Valtteri Bottas sitting right behind him, and we've not seen a lot of Lewis Hamilton. That's because he has so far driven a brilliant race. But this is going to be a key factor available for Lewis Hamilton. He knows that he's got to try and find a way past these back markers quickly, and he's not going to do so here in the Nouveau Chicane. So from this situation, which is running, and this is Zhang and Kvyat, which has got to get past, this is going to be a key moment in the Grand Prix. Well, let's wait and see. So this is the Hülkenberg, who's done fabulously well, and he's got right behind Pierre Gasly. Remember, he's one stop, he's on much older tyres than Pierre Gasly, but has managed to much more effectively. Gasly itself, in terms of that, has fallen right off the pace in 6th place. Can Hülkenberg get past him? And really would be, from starting 10th to get through into 6th would be a great bit of driving by him. Gasly, I wonder if there's just a little bit too much left, not enough time to go. At 38 of 39, and there goes Hülkenberg. He's making his move now, and Pierre Gasly shuts the door. Very brave driving by both men through the swimming pool that they break down into the final turn right. They will head toward the Rascasse, and Hülkenberg has been able to give it a go, but Gasly's been able to hold him off, and now we're oh, there he goes. Little bit of opposite lock, DRS activating. Final lap at Monaco. Lewis Hamilton leads. The battle at the moment that we're watching is between Hülkenberg and Gasly, and I think Hülkenberg's going to try and make a move as they make their way up to Casino. He's right on the gearbox, and there looks to be something which flew off one of the cars there. Is there some damage available? Has one of them lost the wing or a little bit of aerodynamic moments? And Hülkenberg is braking late and trying to squeeze his way through, which he's done. Fabulous driving right the way through to the hairpin. Excellent stuff there by Hülkenberg. Has he done enough? And Lewis Hamilton now has got to hope he has done enough. He's got Valtteri Bottas behind him, but Lewis Hamilton knows he's got 2 corners to negotiate, which he's done, and coming through again to win his 2nd race this season is Lewis Hamilton. Bottas is second. Brilliant by Lewis Hamilton to come through a win. Now Mick Schumacher, who has had Daniel Ricciardo behind him for the entire race, knows that there is a podium available for Schumacher at Monaco. Ricciardo fourth, excellent drive. Leclerc is fifth, and this is the battle for sixth place, and Hulkenberg and Gasly are still going for it. And a look at that, just squeezing the way through. And Hulkenberg, I wonder if it looks like a bit of his front right wing has been damaged. So Pierre Gasly's going for it. I'm sure they've turned boost up overtake mode. Everything possible as they go through the swimming pool. Is this the chance for Hulkenberg? And that looks like something flew off the other side. There looks to be more damage available. He's definitely got damage to that front wing, but just enough available. Mounts the curb and gets the Ravenwest home as much of it as he can. And Hulkenberg is through and gets through into sixth place, and Gasly is seventh, but Lewis Hamilton.
That's what I'm talking about! Yes! Well done, mate. Honestly. Wow.
An amazing drive by Lewis Hamilton, Trevor. Just how good was that today?
Yeah, well, it was excellent. Just like this man, Mick Schumacher, who's had an excellent race himself.
Well, Mick, that's P3. And people told me that overtaking in Monaco was impossible. Fantastic drive, mate. Well done.
Yes, guys. Yeah, man. Oh.
Good driving. Let's go to the next one.
Again, many congratulations to Mick Schumacher, third place. Another brilliant performance again by this young man. He might have a bit of the old man's talent, hey?
Just a little bit, but a faultless race from Lewis Hamilton to win from pole. Held off Bottas, negotiated traffic reasonably well. Bottas just never really got the opportunity, and I dare say there was a hint of team orders involved as well. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton, and with those 26 points, I get the feeling he's probably just retaken the lead in the championship standings.
Brilliant performance by Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. They've got it all together today. Lewis Hamilton, a winner at Monaco. A fabulous win in which he absolutely dominated. One thing he certainly did have today was no fear and drove like an accomplished driver. It was shade to the professor, but one thing is, it's a real push towards the championship. Brilliant performance by Lewis Hamilton. Fabulous by him. He's the second race winner in these championships, and very much the Mercedes Championship Challenge is back on. Well, let's go ahead and look at the results. The fastest lap in the race, a 1:14.1, gave Lewis Hamilton 26 points. He started first, he made one stop, he won the race quite brilliantly. Backed up by his teammate Valtteri Bottas, will be pleased with that second place finish. Mick Schumacher, excellent performance to come through in the third place, a well-deserved 15 points. Daniel Ricciardo drove his heart out but couldn't find enough to get through. As for Charles Leclerc, well, he's claimed one position up and come through into fifth. For Nico Hulkenberg, he did start 10th. He has come through in the end to finish 6th. 8 valuable World Championship points for Hulkenberg. Pierre Gasly, brilliant performance in the AlphaTauri. Was unlucky there to lose out to Hulkenberg, who made a real charge in the final few laps. French 7 and French 8 with Esteban Ocon available. Matsushita up to 4th at one point. Brilliant performance. Bear in mind he started 18th, has been able to claim the final 9th place. And Lando Norris has done so well because he has got the final World Championship point after putting an Alfa Romeo through. Romain Grosjean, Daniel Kvyat, Zhang Zhuo, Antonio Giovinazzi, Nicholas Latifi and Sergio Perez and Alex Albon make out the rest. Many were lapped or were over a minute behind. Max Verstappen, George Russell, Sebastian Vettel, Lance Stroll and Carlos Sainz all out of the race, in which we only had 17 finishers of what turned out to be a welcome return to the calendar for Monaco. With that fabulous performance, Lewis Hamilton has retaken the lead of the World Championship ahead of Nico Hulkenberg. How valuable was that 6th place? Lewis Hamilton's lead is only a point. Mick Schumacher, after that 3rd place, moves to 3rd in the World Championship, just 11 points off the lead. And Daniel Ricciardo's fabulous season continues. He's through in 4th place. Despite winning the last race in Zandvoort, Sebastian Vettel's early retirement means he's dropped down to 5th. And Valtteri Bottas moves his way up to 6th. And Max Verstappen and Romain Grosjean, the Red Bulls, their disappointing season continue, both 7th and 8th. Big mover in the AlphaTauri's Pierre Gasly, up to 9th in the World Championship. At the moment, Alex Albon, Zhang Zhuo, Sergio Perez and Nicholas Latifi are still the only drivers to not record a point. Lando Norris gets his first point of the season. From the constructors' standpoint, Ravenwest is leading the World Championship, is only down to 13 points after that. Mercedes 1-2. Red Bull Racing remained third, but they didn't have a very good Grand Prix, and Ferrari are following them up. Hey, the Ferrari move ahead of Renault and Racing Point and also move down the grid. Williams still remain the only car on the grid yet to record a World Constructors' Championship point. A fantastic performance by Lewis Hamilton. He really did put on a masterclass. The old Maestro is showing he still definitely has it at Monaco. It was shades of Prost, shades of Senna, shades of why he is simply the best potentially this sport has ever seen. But don't worry, one of the best we've ever seen. His son came good. Mick Schumacher gave it another great performance, but at the moment the World Championship may be 4 races in, but this one looks like we're up for more fabulous action as we head right to the wire. From all of us here on the Virtual Sports Network, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.
Nice.